So we spoke about the emotions and emotional energy, and why it is important to be able to manage one's emotional energy, for it not to leak. Because if it does, the content of our experience begins to inform us in such a way that we can very easily be manipulated for any purposes. So, as I spoke about the way spiritual methodologies have been always utilized for various ends, and the contemporary military complex utilizes absolutely all range of available means to indoctrinate, to create this manufactured consent so as to justify the dirty games. It's as simple as that. So here I wanted to take another chance to revisit this topic of emotions. And of course, being a teacher who utilizes tantric methodologies as well as tantric perspectives and philosophies as an umbrella for the teaching, I can tell you a thing or two about the importance of the emotions. The emotions is what belongs to the subtle body, spoken of very often as emotional body. And that sphere is extremely refined and extremely subtle. Any division that is taking place within our psyche first has to take at the level of our emotions. This is where we are getting divided. Don't worry about the ego right now. Don't worry about this sense of separate self, right? We are speaking about it in terms of the inner mechanics of where the division takes place. The pranic current renders asunder already there and then the being through the instrumentality of breath, by virtue of rising and descending breath known as apana and prana, which in turn takes over that state of complete and utter unity. So our unity is compromised already at the expense, our unity is compromised for the sake of this experience to take place. In many of, let's say, of our programs, online courses, retreats, immersions, we spoke about it at a great length. What here is actually going on behind the scenes. But the reason why I would like to speak to this in the form of these reflections as a podcast is so as to bring the attention of some of you who perhaps have missed the link that I was trying to create between being manipulated by mainstream media in order to polarize and fragment, divide that emotional response by forcing us to adopt a certain perspective in a very assertive, strong manner. This, of course, is very well known and always been utilized by military propaganda, which infiltrated absolutely all channels of news communications. It's going as far back as the time of the formation of CNN and the Ted Turner, when gradually all forms of news, all channels of news, were gradually concentrated in the hands of a very few who would represent corporate interests. This is way before the internet. I'm talking about going back to the 80s and the 90s, where myself living in the United Kingdom, I remember how gradually every major newspaper was acquired by Rupert Murdoch, and essentially there was no way to learn about anything other than through the filters that were applied in such a way so as to inform you and I in a certain way that our opinion is already strongly influenced before we even have a chance to have our own. So how does that relate and how does that sit with spiritual work that we do? Well, here it is. In order to have any opinion, let alone perspective or overview on anything, we need to have enough synthesized capacities for processing information in the light of direct experience of how this information is, in the first place, divides us. In other words, it's like a catch-22, if you will. If we are constantly being molded, informed by all this propaganda that is being bombarded literally and non-stop for the war on our minds, then there is very little space, time, and ability on our part to that what is here spoken in terms of self-reflection. There's no space for any synthesis of information. We are being already molded, formed, and this we cannot afford, because this already usurps our sovereignty. And here is another catch-22. To have that sovereignty is a must in order to have a really, really all-encompassing perspective on anything. But if that right has been already taken from us, then we are left here to wonder and become an easy target of all this endless manipulation. Yes, I've been put on a spot now quite few times, on few occasions, to take a decisive stand on the current situation, on the current conflict between Ukrainians and Russians, or in relation to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Although I have said that it is naturally that our heart bleeds in all this suffering that a common folk is being subjected to because of the dirty games of those in power. But let me say something. If I am saying here right now that I stand with Ukrainians, I stand with Russians, I stand with Americans, I stand with Palestinians, I stand with Yemenis, I stand with people of the entire world, I have to pause and catch myself by, hang on a second, am I going on autopilot? Am I actually being forced to give the justification of my own independent stand? So I'm not going to do that. In all sincerity, I'm going to say that I stand here in my own sovereignty. I have enough experience, knowledge, and understanding to see the situation in its all-encompassing view. So therefore, I'm not going to be divided because someone wants to come and slash myself right through the middle of my being, because there are certain very, very subtle emotions are being manipulated. And let me add to this, right as I speak these very words, the country of my ancestors is being bombed. My mother comes from Western Ukraine. She was born in Rovno or Ruvno, depending on which vernacular or which accent you prefer to use, an area just outside of Lvov or Lviv. So I'm kind of like, if you think that this is a conflict which somehow, by virtue of not being connected to the DNA of these people, doesn't affect me. It does. At that human plane, it does affect me a great deal. But I can exercise the power of my own consciousness not to be divided. And that is the main message that I was trying to convey over and over with these reflections. Let us add more to this. This manufactured consent, which is basically, essentially, is how to manipulate your emotions in order to gain a green light to wage a holy war on this nation or on that nation, is a very well-known scenario. The pattern doesn't change. Even the way it is being done has terrible resemblance to how it has been done in the past. Those of you who are 50 and over, as myself, remember very well how before invading Iraq, we needed to vilify that nation. I'm saying we because I was already living in the West. And I remember very well how American Senate has to find some real valid justification for beginning this military operation against Iraq. So they had to manufacture something as dirty as that story with newly born abandoned on the floor when incubators were stolen by Iraqi soldiers. This has shook the whole nation, and without a slightest sense of hesitation, the whole Senate voted to go and bomb the shit out of Iraq because Saddam Hussein and his people were declared to be evil. The same war is now being waged against Russia, and this war did not start at the invasion of Ukraine. If someone believes that this war has started now, one is completely and utterly clueless and does not exercise one's own capacity for getting the information which will give at least a range of perspectives to form an opinion. This war on Russia has begun already when Obama was elected into the office. Much loved, much admired, elegant Barack Obama was the American president who came to fulfill this long ambition of many people in power who hated the guts out of Soviet Union, but actually Russian people. Because Barack Obama, let's not forget, was Zbigniew Brzezinski's protege. He was fostered. He was prepared for the role meticulously over decades before his time will come. So Barack Obama did everything to make sure that any agreements that have been reached before his presidency, going all the way back when Russia was surrendered itself, when Gorbachev and Reagan have met and decided that this is the time to demilitarize. This is the time to say goodbye to the military domination. This is the time to do something about this whole freaking doldrum, because otherwise we're coming to a complete and utter annihilation of everything as we know it. So it didn't last long. The reasons for that are, of course, open to polemics and discussions. Dig the history, dig the books, dig the sites, look for yourself. And you will find a lot of evidence that what has created this Putin's Russia was a skillful, manipulative, mastermind ideas which executed with cold-blooded ways in order to create this enemy number one again, resurrect that enemy out of the ashes, and create that enemy again so as to justify spending this colossal budget as $700 billion per year for militarizing itself against what? And as what? As the power that's supposed to wage democracy around the world? Bullshit. Horseshit. We all know it. You don't need to be an enlightened being to know this what is pretty obvious. So this is essentially in response to those who almost demand for me to come up with condemnation. Yes, I condemn any form of violence, including and perhaps above all else, violence that is incited behind the scenes. And right now, no longer behind the scenes. We have entered the phase now, officially, when the holy war of the elite in the West is now declared Russia as #1 enemy. This is dangerous. This is no longer frivolous, some kind of geopolitical games. This is as scary as anything. So therefore, we need to do everything we can, not allow ourselves to be divided, not allow ourselves to be fragmented, and not allow our sovereignty to be taken, because we can assist the repair at the subtlest level of our being by exercising that sovereignty, where we can heal that rupture, the rupture that goes not through the hearts of Russian people or through the hearts of the Americans. No, this is the forces of light and darkness collided. So some of you may want to stop me and ask, hang on a second, are you saying that Western elite now somehow representing the forces of darkness? Yes, I'm saying it blatantly. These are the real Asuric or demonic energies that have entered the hearts of people some times ago and now exercising their full power with no regard for human life, with no regard for anything. All their means, all their dirty ends justifying the means. So this war that's going on now between Russia and Ukraine is not a simple affair, is not a straight cut. This war has began a long time ago. And I'm not even talking about the war and how the government in Ukraine was overthrown with the help of this oligarch and the CIA and the involvement of the Biden's family. This is for you to find out. But you need to also understand that leaking your emotions here by irreversibly taking a certain side, by a condemnation of a proxy situation, is not going to do us good on a whole. So therefore I thought to call spade a spade here, and you do whatever you want with that. And I know very well that many spiritual teachers avoid these topics. They somehow prefer not to talk about the obvious. They prefer to sit comfortably and cozily in the realm of transcendence so as not to ruffle any further feathers. So this is my response in as direct manner as I could speak today with regard to this, what we are all faced with. Stay connected. Stay informed, but not disinformed, because this is very important right now. Do not allow your emotions be turned against you and against that what is now as saving grace. The saving grace of today is being able to remain that state of equilibrium in your own heart. If you cannot do that, at least resist the temptation to grab a stone and start throwing it, casting a stone, because you think you already know it all. Pause for a moment. Put that stone down. Look into your own heart and see what you can do. Look into your own consciousness and see what you can do. The day has come which all of us will be forced, one way or another, to embody a certain energy. And it's not an easy affair, it's a tricky affair. Because if you think it's so obvious that here is the aggressor, here is the victim, here is the demonic side, here is the angelic or divine side, it's going to be so much more intricate, so much more perplexed. So in order to know which side to take, you have first to go beyond the form. You have to first retrieve deep within yourself and find out where all this form is molten back into the state of formless pure potentiality, Hold it there as long as you can. Keep holding it. Let it all melt properly in the light of your own awareness. Gently, slowly come out of that, and only then allow your opinion to disturb the peace here and to reverberate the air.